He was like, oh, in chat, someone said discount Robert Downey Jr. I'll take it. Little known, this is gonna be the hook that takes him off the Valhalla and marry me go. Off the Valhalla you go.
Can't not giggle at that, man.
Juby. Off the Valhalla, struggle bug mode was already underway. He's gonna be looking to power up, and stage 3 Super Saiyan underway.
He got him! Oh.
This all started on June 14th, 2018. Dead by Daylight received one of the biggest updates ever, the 2.0.0 update as part of the second anniversary, which brought the clown and Kate, as well as introduced the absolute monster that is the cosmetic store. It was a very good time in all honesty, because we were dry of content for 3 months with absolutely no substantial updates. So getting all of this at once was overwhelming in a positive way. Since it was the second year anniversary, the devs decided to fill it up with cool and interesting events like raffles and cosplay contests. And most importantly, they announced the first ever official competitive DBD tournament hosted by Space Esports as part of the second year anniversary, where anyone with a team could participate in order to win the biggest cash prize by that point, $15,000, divided for each platform, starting with PC, PlayStation, and finally Xbox.
Another big announcement, tournament.
An official Dead by Daylight tournament?
Our first official Dead by Daylight tournament organized by Space Esports. After the stream, I will post every link that you need to sign up. There is 1 day for every platform though, so everyone can participate again. And there are prize money and also really cool other prizes.
Cool.
So I'll post that after.
Yeah.
Dead by Daylight was far from an esport during these times. While there were competitive tournaments, these were set up unofficially by prominent content creators and was mostly done in the Asian community. However, for the first time ever, Behavior actually tried and endorsed an official tournament, and this was very hype. A lot of people wanted to participate. Over 174 teams applied for the PC tournament, so much that they had to close the registration early because there was no room for any more, and they had to pick 16 teams to participate. As you might understand, the interest and stakes were pretty high. This was not a random tournament. This was an opportunity for the devs to show the world that Dead by Daylight could be an official competitive game. It was a way to evolve the game from a simple casual horror asymmetrical experience to a full-fledged esport. So, Space Esports. What experience did this brand have in hosting tournaments? Well, Space Esports was, according to their description, one of the most recognized gaming tournament influencers in North America, specializing in asymmetrical multiplayer events, and founded in 2017. If you try to search for them right now, you will only find their Instagram page as well as their Twitch, with their Twitter and Facebook account being deleted. Space Esports had some experience hosting previous DBD tournaments in the past, so this was not their first attempt. However, it was the first official endorsed tournament, so they had to hold a higher standard this time. It had to be done professionally. So now that we have the context for this tournament, let's talk about the tournament itself. As we all know, Dead by Daylight is very hard to balance due to its asymmetrical nature, and so a win condition had to be defined, as well as rules had to be put in place, because without them, DBD is really a mess. Survivors could bring brand new parts which during this time were still overpowered and could finish a gen in seconds, or they could bring Decisive Strike which didn't have the hook requirement yet, meaning it worked at all times. Killers could bring Moris and sacrifice a survivor after tunneling them. If you think the game is unbalanced now, you cannot imagine how messy it was back then. So, the rules of the official tournament summed up are as follows: no perks, add-ons, or items. The map will be Cold Tower, best of 3. Only kills and escapes are counted for points. In case of a tie, the fastest escape or sacrifice is counted. And all characters available to play except the clown. So just by reading these rules, I believe most can see the issues that this causes. First and most importantly of all, the no perks and add-ons rule was too much. Survivors need perks in order to play well or escape. Not being able to have exhaustion perks or unbreakable in order to counter the most scummy but tactical plays from the killers meant that you could tunnel, hard camp, and not worry about any dead hearts at all as a killer. However, at the same time, the game is completely unbalanced against a survive with friends with coordination, so low tier killers like Trapper or Freddy were a very bad pick to make, especially when playing for a cash prize. Since survivors had no perks and the choice of survivors is purely aesthetic, they had to use any in-game advantage they could. For that reason, 99% of the player picks were Claudettes, with the darkest possible clothing and in the teams wearing the exact same outfit. Now, unfortunately, I am not able to explain why Claudette was the most picked survivor due to the nature of it being racist. So I will let odds do the talking.
Next up is Claudette, which is arguably the best character in the game in terms of being small, having dark skin, and also having extremely dark clothes. She's probably the #1 pick survivor in tournaments for very good reason.
Now on the killer side, with a cash prize in play, the only sensible pick was the nurse, as you could bypass any of the mechanics in the game and just down survivors extremely fast. Also, unlike literally every single killer in the game, the nurse was the only one where she was extremely powerful even at base kit. In fact, most players used to play her with no add-ons because they could mess up your muscle memory, and this led to a very poor variety of players and plays. The same map of Cold Tower, the same killer, the same survivors, and the same playstyle. Survivors just rushing gens because only escapes count and they had no incentive to save in the endgame and instead they had to play safe. And killers proxy camping and tunneling since only kills counted and not hook states or injuries. Anytime someone picked a different killer other than the nurse, it was only for variety's sake and they ended up losing the match because it was impossible to defend generators. Even the community made tournaments that had better rules than the official behavior tournament. This rule set choice only backfired because it showed just how unbalanced the game is. But if only the video ended here. Sadly, this was just the start. Any good tournament requires a very nice setup as well as commentators that spice up the plays in-game. Both of these conditions were not achieved. The first issue that many found with the tournament was that the overlay they made for it is filled with unnecessary clutter and aggressive designs that could impair the enjoyment of the raw gameplay. Now, the sponsors can be passed because after all, they have to finance such a big tournament, but leaving the follow notification and chat overlay during the downtime between matches was completely unnecessary, making it look like an amateur affiliated streamer. And let's talk about the choice of music. Instead of using DBD songs, which would have fit way more with the nature of the official tournament, Space Esports decided to play a mix of electronic and EDM songs, and some of the songs were allegedly composed by a friend of the streamers, which would basically mean that they tried to self-promote a music composer during an official DBD tournament. But the worst offenders were by far the commentators. So first of all, the quality of the microphones was not top tier, and it seemed like the tournament was done via a Skype or Discord call. Some of the casters spoke on top of each other, and in fact on one occasion they forgot to mute each other, so you could hear behind the scenes talks in between the downtime, like a manager stating that they will be losing hosts if they restart the stream in order to improve the connection.
I don't think so at all. It's the internet
think somebody like hacked or pinged him? But there's no ping that will fix it. How do you know that will fix it? Yeah, I just hate it because we're gonna lose hosts.
The entire commentary was filled with inside jokes from their group of friends, like constant Dragon Ball Z references like calling Michael Myers Tier 3 a Super Saiyan,
He's gonna be looking to power up, and Stage 3 Super Saiyan underway.
or saying that the nurse traverses space and time like in Dragon Ball.
Episode of Dragon Ball Z, whenever Goku asks you to put his hands up to make a sphere fall, like, you don't not put your hands up. Like, come on.
If you want to make jokes, at least make sure they are related to the DBD community, like dropping a pretty good job so far, or using in-game terminology. One of the worst jokes they made during the tournament was that every time someone was hooked, they said that the survivors were sent straight to Valhalla, despite the game having no connection to Norse mythology.
Entity shall have him off the Valhalla. He goes. Does already in struggle mode, going straight off the Valhalla, and Nightlight off the Valhalla. Completely backfire. I gotta go fast again, going off the Valhalla. Ravenar's going off the Valhalla. The hook that takes him off the Valhalla, and Marry Me go off the Valhalla. You go. All five Jennies off the board. Only Flare 2B going off the Valhalla here with the enemy.
Can't not giggle at that, man.
Juby off the Valhalla. Struggle bug mode was already.
And when confronted, the caster defended themselves by saying that it was a joke in their group of friends.
People don't seem to like Valhalla, but that's just what we say around here. We've been saying that for, what, 8 tournaments?
Like 10 plus.
Yeah, 10 plus tournaments. Calling it Valhalla.
I'm seeing Valhalla intensifies. No more Valhalla talk. Hey,
Yeah.
I'll be talking about Valhalla all night.
Of
'Cause
all
people
the
be going
afterlives,
to Valhalla.
Valhalla is the best.
Yeah, well, all the parties.
You just get hammered
get
and
hammered all the
fight
time.
each other. Yeah, it's great.
During one of the pauses, one of the casters started dancing to one of the EDM songs playing, which had no connection to DBD at all and was completely unprofessional. As a caster, in order to commentate well on a match, a fundamental knowledge of the game mechanics is necessary, which requires a lot of playtime hours. For this reason, a lot of tournaments invite content creators in order to cast, because they have that deep fundamental knowledge. One of the caster's Steam account was discovered, and this person only played DBD for 77 hours. This lack of knowledge was evident with certain comments that the caster made, like claiming that the trapper feels fast despite him being base speed, or that he has good map presence despite being one of the worst characters in the game.
Trapping. If you kill him, he's gonna be coming out as a trap daddy.
It's like, yeah, I like feeling like I have map control. I don't know. He's cool. And he's fast as shit.
Claiming that it's weird how no generators popped when the important part was the repair progress of the various generators, as a game can end even though 4 gens are remaining as long as they are all 99%ed. And the biggest meme by far came from being surprised at the usage of Hillbilly's chainsaw for map traversal rather than using it to down survivors, which any player that have tried Hillbilly once would immediately understand.
Doing the tournament was people using the chainsaw dash, not necessarily for trying to just trying to hit people, but actually just using it for like increased mobility.
This is basic knowledge that anyone with more hours would understand. So even if the caster defended themselves by claiming that they play on console, so the 77 hours is not the total, there was still a profound lack of understanding of game mechanics. And to make things worse, the mods were spamming chat with memes and also self-promoting. I think the definitive straw that broke the camel's back was the fact that the caster actually responded to the negative chat comments during the livestream, instead of ignoring them by claiming that the negativity and toxic messages only help to promote the stream further, and that they should keep it coming, showing that they did not care at all about the negative feedback.
I know, I appreciate though, honestly. You guys have been lit in chat. Obviously, every time you tune in, it's going to be good, it's going to be bad. You guys should understand this is your community. So what you guys guys represent in chat as a community, it's all on you. Like, it doesn't really hurt. It's like, it doesn't make me feel bad to know that a community is salty or not. It just reflects on your own guys' too. I'm glad to see a lot of these people enjoying it, and then all those who have negative things to say, thank you for being here. Slam that follow, hit the notification, see if you come back and tell me how bad. Like, you're contributing to chat. I don't think people understand, like, by typing in negative stuff, keep it coming. Like, that is analytics, that is stats.
Let me remind you that this was all during an official behavior-endorsed tournament with a 5,000 cash prize for each platform, meaning a total of $15,000. Yet everything I have told you sounds like the first tournament of a content creator that just started with Twitch. We mentioned the poor overlay choice that they have decided to run during the tournament, which, in all honesty, is subjective and to each their own. However, what is not subjective is the absolute time that they took in between matches, which could go from 10 minutes to over 20 minutes, and all they needed to do was simple changes to the roles and the players. The wait times were so bad that some people wanted to lose in order to just go to sleep and stop wasting their time, and one team even denied the tie and took the loss just to finish early. The total time this tournament lasted was 12 hours. This is completely unacceptable in a tournament that is also global. The person behind the spectator camera did not do a good job showcasing the interesting aspects of the game. Many times, while the killer was in a chase, the spectator decided to change to a Claudette repairing a generator instead of showcasing the action. It felt like they did not know how to go back to the last player spectated and instead had to cycle through all of them just to go back. And to make things worse, there was a huge drama involved in the community regarding a team lag switching. Back in the old days, DBD did not have any dedicated servers, and instead the connection was peer-to-peer. This meant that the killer hosted the match, and the rest of survivors connected to the killer. Combine this with teams being from completely different countries like Russia or Australia, and you have lag issues in an official DBD tournament. In fact, this was extremely easy to exploit, as you could intentionally throttle your connection in order to give survivors lag spikes, and there was a massive amount of suspicion that one of the teams was lag switching in order to get very unfair downs. This is a blatant issue that would be unacceptable in any tournament. But what solution is there? How does one prevent lag switching when the connection is peer-to-peer? Also, Space Esports broke their own rules twice, one of them being a huge drama with content creator Marth88, where a technicality with the term hatch standoff robbed him of his victory, which made a lot of players upset. Also, according to the rules, if anyone disconnects, the team is entitled to one restart under certain conditions. However, a team called Gens Before Friends got 2 restarts, so they broke their own rules. The PC tournament was a disaster. So in order to prevent bad feedback and try to improve the viewing experience of the community, they decided to actually ask content creators in order to cast the streams, and this was taken with positive feedback. The content creators knew how to commentate, and they could give more in-depth casting of the different gameplay situations that happened in-game. Obviously, the first PC tournament left a very bad taste to everyone, especially in a very important tournament part of the second year anniversary, possibly the first time that the majority of players saw what competitive DBD was, and this experience turned a lot of players off from it. In fact, it can be argued that behavior themselves, upon seeing the failure of the tournament, that they stopped with the idea of turning this game into a full-fledged esport, according to the esports chart website, and instead they focused more on the horror and atmospheric state of the game. But as for Space Esports, the worst was yet to come. After the end of the PC tournament, a lot of players were extremely discontent, and so they wanted to leave bad reviews in order to express their dissatisfaction. The negative reviews were so bad that Space Esports completely deleted their Facebook account, which was the first hit they took. The second hit was devastating, in my personal opinion. Some weeks after the tournament ended, Reddit user and render artist Archangel470 noticed something very curious about the official poster of the Escape tournament. It looked very similar to a render he had done back on February of that same year. It's almost as if Space Esports took the render without any permission and edited it themselves. Well, it turns out that Space Esports took the render without any permission and without crediting to the original artist. When caught red-handed, they sent a damage control tweet where they shouted the original artist for this image. Sadly nowadays, their Twitter account is long gone, but the responses are still there to this day. It is clear that overall, this tournament was disastrous. It featured a lot of issues, it was handled unprofessionally, it used artwork without permission, constant technical issues, the list just keeps piling on and on. And one thing we know about the DBD community, especially during that time, is that it's one of the most ruthless communities ever, so they bombarded every single outlet for Space Esports with negative reviews. Despite the problem being so big, Space Esports still keep making DBD tournaments in the future, and you actually can see the tournaments on their Twitch page, which along with the Instagram one, seem to be the only remnants of Space Esports left as a brand. Now, to be quite honest, I don't think the amount of hate they got was fair. I think the game itself was at fault too. DBD was not balanced at all, and especially worse back then. It is completely ludicrous to make a competitive game where players from all over the world can compete, but the server is peer-to-peer, which can lead to players lag switching in order to get very unfair hits. The rules were not explored at all, and this entire tournament should have been done from the start with the help of content creators that I am sure would be more than happy to help. And that is in fact what happened later, as Marth88 did a fantastic job casting the Xbox tournament. The problem seemed to be that people chosen by the Space Esports brand did not have the high-end and in-depth knowledge of the game that most of the competitive players have nowadays, which led to very weird decisions like the rules applied or the weird Dragon Ball Z commentary itself. It would have been also better to commission an artist in order to create an official banner too, just to show further support to the DBD community as a thank you. What was supposed to be one of the most special events ever turned out into an embarrassing and unprofessional mess due to the poor choices that Space Esports made, all because of a terrible first impression. And this happened a long time ago, so not many players will even remember this, but I know some of my veteran viewers remember. And if you did watch the tournament, please let me know in the comments any anecdotes that you remember from that time. Thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next Dragon Ball Z episode.